Well, hello and welcome back to Book of Romans. Exciting to be here with you. I just love going through this book and reflecting on it. I work ahead a little bit, and it's always rewarding to not only discover these things and meditate on the word here, but also to find myself reviewing it again and being struck by it. So here we're in Romans 15 today. If you're wondering, let me show you that. Tired of looking at me, I'm sure. If you look at my screen here, using Bible software, I'm just going to talk about these little markers, this yellow and blue with an asterisk marker here. I don't want to confuse you or distract you. So I'll tell you what they are. I use some Bible software, and the Bible software allows me to attach notes to the biblical text. So I can attach notes to a verse, as I've done here. I can attach notes to words, phrases, just a number of different ways I can make a notation here. So that's how I kind of journal through this. I pray that you guys are doing the same, by the way. Two kinds of notes that I have when it comes to Romans. This yellow note, remember I talked about, I think last time, going through the book so slowly as I was going through it in the original language in Greek. Those are my notes in the yellow, more detailed, more theological, more what you call exegetical, where you're looking at the grammar and syntax and structure. That's the yellow notes. The blue notes are the notes I put together for this. These are the notes I use for going through the book as part of theofaith. So those are the two types of notes. Don't let them distract you. I was hiding them before, but it just became inconvenient. So now I'm going to just leave them visible for you to see. So in verse 14 here, and again, Paul is talking about his desire to come to Rome, how he's been praying for it. He planned it. He had been prevented a couple times. He's got obligation he wants to discharge in order to preach the gospel there. Talked about the gospel not just being that message of salvation, but a message of sanctification, a message of the sovereignty of God, and a message of service to God's people. So that's the content of the book of Romans, and that is the gospel that Paul wants to preach. So he says he's under obligation, and he says, for my part, in verse 15, I am eager to preach the gospel to you also. Well, man, how fortunate are the brothers and sisters in Rome that Paul is not going to work reluctantly. He is not dragging his feet. It's not like a Monday morning for Paul and he can't get going. No, he says he's eager, he's pumped, he's got zeal, he wants to discharge this ministry. He really wants to be among them, and he is eager to preach. He is eager to carry out his ministry. No foot dragging on Paul's part. How special that congregation must feel as they hear this, that the Apostle Paul himself is coming to Rome, and he's eager to be among us. He is eager to use his gift, and he is eager to receive our ministry to him. You know, if you look at Paul's ministry, he has been afflicted in so many different ways that Satan has tried to put up obstacles and barriers to inhibit him the whole way. Doesn't dampen his enthusiasm. You know, I'm reminded at the beginning of Acts, of his ministry in Acts chapter 13, his first missionary journey. Remember that he and Barnabas were followed around by a really obnoxious girl who kept saying that these men are telling you the way to God, essentially. Go back to Acts chapter 13 and get the details on that. But she was so persistent in it and so obnoxious about it. I think I get the impression that it was either irritating Paul and Barnabas or driving away crowds because she wouldn't relent. She was just constantly saying this. So that's one kind of hindrance that Satan threw up. Somebody who's overly enthusiastic, and that can happen sometimes. Other ways we see that Paul was discouraged or oppressed, or what we could say barriers that were thrown up. We see in 2 Corinthians 4, 8 and 9, Paul's talking about the nature of his ministry. He says, we are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not despairing, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. You get the sense there that Paul is just pushing on. No matter what comes against him, he's dealing with it and he's pushing it on. He's pushing on. And, he's following the example of Jesus, isn't he? He's following the example of the Lord, that no matter what barrier was coming against him, no matter what discouragement was coming against him, he pressed on toward the goal of the cross. Hebrews 12:1 says that he was, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. That he was going on. He was not being detoured from his ministry. And neither will Paul, and neither will Peter later as well. We see this throughout the New Testament, that they are on it. They are on it. So, just as the suffering of the cross did not detour Jesus, so suffering doesn't detour Paul from his ministry to Rome. And I think, this is a great example for us, brothers and sisters. A great example here of really relentless pursuit of the work God has called his people to do. Barriers come against us all the time. Discouragement, frustration, sorrow. Our bodies are weak. We get tired. And we get frustrated. Sometimes we get frustrated with people, other times with situations. But we press on. Are you pressing on? Are you following the example of Paul? Have you gotten to a point in your Christian life where you've been so hurt, so discouraged, that so many obstacles or barriers have come against you that you are ready to give up? Well, let me tell you, don't. Follow the example of Jesus. Follow the example of Paul. Press on. Relentlessly pursue the sanctification that the Lord is calling you to through the Spirit. Relentlessly pursue the service to the church that he's called you. You may not have the kind of gift that puts you up in front of the whole congregation, but your gift is just as important and just as missed in the church that you are attending. And if you're not attending to a church, you need to be. There's no New Testament believer that's not part of a local church. There shouldn't be. And God has called you to this. So think about this. Just reflect on this verse today and ask yourself, how would your life be different if you were eager, like Paul is eager, to use your gift to the people in your own church? What would your priorities look like? How would your life be changed? I'm not saying that you have to make a 180. Perhaps the Holy Spirit is calling you to do that. But find something that you could change in your life today. Reflect on it. Think about it. Perhaps it's going to church. Perhaps it's going to church and introducing you to someone who you sat in front of or behind or to the left or right of for days, weeks, months, perhaps years, and you haven't said anything more than, hi, how are you? Ask them how you could pray for them. Ask them how they're doing, and don't let them get away with, we're just fine. Be eager to be at work. Be eager to use your gift. Dedicate yourself to pursuing the use of your gift within the body, and God will bless you. He will bless you in unexpected ways. In fact, what I would like you to do is, as you do this and as those blessings come upon you, I'd like you to leave a comment. Just a quick comment saying how you have reached out, how you have used your gift, and how God has blessed you in doing that. Love to hear your testimony. So God bless you, brothers and sisters, and God bless your week. What's left of it, and next time will be in verses 16 and 17 as we go through this book of Romans. God bless you.